This is my 6th take of this voiceover at this point, which I feel is ironic and also appropriate and also exemplary of the fact that perfectionism is indeed mine greatest enemy, mine enemy most foul, my greatest, most powerful foe. I used to think that perfectionism was an admirable trait to have. I used to think that wanting everything to be as good as it could possibly be was a great and sustainable way to lead my life because of course I want everything to be as good as it can possibly be. Of course I want everything to be perfect. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you want everything to be perfect? Come on. Why would anyone want to do anything that wasn't brilliant? Why would you want to output something that wasn't spectacular? You can't possibly share something that isn't good. You can't submit a homework assignment or a project that isn't perfect. How embarrassing. Oh my God, I could never imagine such a thing. Were I to fall short of this impossible standard I've set for myself, it would be catastrophic, surely. I have learned in recent years the true insidious nature of the curse that is perfectionism because it doesn't just affect my work. Shock horror. I used to think it was only about, my schoolwork or my professional work, my creative work. Turns out perfectionism kind of affects every single aspect of my life. I think back to how I put off starting to play D&D with my best friends that I've known for like over a decade. I put off starting playing D&D with them because I was convinced that I was going to start playing the game. I was going to ruin something and I would make some sort of mistake that was so awful and egregious that these people that I have known for over a decade would never speak to me again. I was like, I'm going to be the one to ruin everyone else's good time because I don't know how to play this game that I really want to learn how to play, but I don't know how to play it yet. Therefore, I'm just not going to play with these people that I trust and love. Because what if I ruin it for everybody? Perfectionism also shows up in the way that I approach. It comes in ways of oh, I can't respond to this text message because I am not sat in the precise location with the exact setting in ways. I can't answer this text because my dining table is dirty. It's completely illogical and again, insidious. It gets into every single aspect of my life. And I used to think that it was a cool trait to have. And instead, I'm learning that it has robbed me of so much. And it's such a bummer. And so this video is about me actively fighting against it as I work on this painting. This is my May postcard actually for my Patreon. And I'm ultimately quite happy with how it turned out. But working on this was terrifying. It was actually terrifying. I was so scared because I haven't painted anything in a really long time. It's been a long time since I've painted traditionally. And I was so scared that, it was just going to be bad. I was scared that even though I wanted to paint it traditionally, I was scared that it was going to be bad and then I was going to have to restart it all over again. And I was going to be even later on my postcard than I already was. And ultimately, I think that's the most heartbreaking part of perfectionism is that it just steals time. It steals time. It steals energy. It just steals so much from you. And we're conquering this together, bit by bit, step by step. And I am excited to share my process of this with you. I like this little pre-wash that I did with the neon pink. We love an underpainting. You'll also have to forgive my voice. I'm in a play right now, and I'm in a musical actually, and I'm doing a lot of singing. And we had a 2-show day yesterday, so my voice is a little tired today. So maybe not the best day to be doing a voiceover, but we do what needs must be done. Right? Also, my dog just came into the studio and is now lying sadly on the couch. So there's a chance I may need to depart. Oh, and hi, Nami. Actually, Nami's appearance is the perfect herald because I need to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by experts on virtually any creative subject you could imagine. They've got more businessy like stuff like productivity, building your creative business, how to manage and grow your social media presence. And then they have classes on the arts themselves with everything from watercolor to foundational drawing techniques, photography, Procreate, sewing and quilting, paper craft, and so much more. Speaking of sewing, I've actually been doing a lot of sewing and quilting lately offline. I've been like making a lot of very cute things, and I've been toying with the idea of potentially making my own fabric. And so I wanted to take a new pattern making class. I found this class by Mel Armstrong, appropriately titled Create a Symmetrical Moth Pattern in Procreate. She goes through the whole process of making a symmetrical pattern like this, and she offers this mushroom template that you can download and use to start your own class project. I'm actually very happy with the initial sketch I've laid out. The border needs some filling in, but she makes the whole patterning and Procreate process very easy to follow, very easy to understand, teaches you how to do test tiles, also offers tips and ideas for sketching, coloring, all that stuff. But I'm excited to add color to this, and maybe I can actually get this printed on fabric. That would be really cool. I think that making things with your own hands, whether that be digitally or traditionally, like, digital or traditional medium, I think making stuff is very, very important, especially right now as everything is being automated and, made efficient and optimized. I think it's just important to keep making stuff, because making stuff is the fun part and it's the important part. And so Skillshare is an incredible resource to keep in touch with that maker within, where whatever it is that you do, everyone is creative. Everyone is creative. Anybody can make stuff. It's just a matter of, figuring out what calls to you. If you maybe want to discover your creativity, the first 500 people to click the link in my description or scan this QR code on screen will get access to a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So I implore you to go forth and make stuff. And now it is back to the painting. Even now, I want to go back and re-record the first part of this video because it's so bad. I talk about it a lot, or maybe I talk about it a lot on my Patreon podcasts, and I've mentioned it perchance in passing on my YouTube, but perfectionism is an awful, awful beast. My therapist, I remember when I was kind of first coming to my therapist with this idea and first learning just how pervasive it is in my life, she was like, what is more painful to you? The pain of not making something that you want to make, or the pain of making it and then that thing that you make being not the best thing that you've ever done? And I was like, I wish the former was more painful, but currently it's the latter. The thought of doing something subpar is paralyzing to me. I think it's a huge reason as to why my relationship with my YouTube videos has gotten so sour, because I'm convinced that I cannot make a YouTube video unless the next video I make is the best video I've ever made. Well, I can't make YouTube videos now because I've been so inconsistent in posting, so my view counts are inconsistent and my subscriber count is falling. Therefore, I'm not performing at my best. Therefore, it's not worth doing at all. Oh, I can't paint this thing that I want to paint. I can't capture this moment that I want to paint because I know it's not going to live up to the image of it that I have in my head. Therefore, there's no point in even trying to put it onto paper, when the whole point of making art is to practice and problem solve. But if I simply never even try to confront that in the first place, then I don't have to experience the pain of making something that's bad. I wish I could explain to you. I wish I knew why it was physically painful, but it's this feeling in my body. It's such a strange sentiment and it's so irrational, but it's like, I happen to be pretty good at a lot of stuff. I have a knack for certain creative endeavors, and having a very public facing career on the internet as I have grown as a creative I've gotten a lot of feedback that reinforces the impossible standards that I set for myself, which I guess is maybe like a tomb of my own making. I don't know. It's this sense of like, I can't put something half-assed anywhere because people expect a certain standard of work from me, and I think I have to come to terms with the fact that the only person who expects this impossible standard of work from me is me. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't make anything subpar. And if I do make anything subpar, then I can't share it because then the illusion of me, quote unquote, this illusion of me that I've been building over the years will be shattered. I think it's also like a weird ego thing. I don't know why it's this very, and again, talking about it, talking through it reinforces the fact of what a strange, irrational thought process it is. And this shit affects everything. Like I said, it affects the way that I talk to my friends. I'm like, well, I can't play D&D with these people that I love because what if I do something bad? Like, it took me probably a year and a half to like really sort of get into the mindset of being able to like, hey, you're going to play this game that you don't know anything about and you might make some mistakes and that's okay. These people that you've known for years and years and years are not going to hate you. I think about the fact that I can't answer a text message or take a FaceTime call or like talk to my friends if I'm not, my dining room table needs to be clean. My living room needs to be vacuumed. I have to make sure that my dishes are done because somehow they're going to know that my house is dirty and then they're going to judge me for the fact that my house is dirty. And that's going to feel bad because then I'm going to fall short of the expectations that they have for me. It's exhausting. I think as I've become more and more aware of how nasty and pervasive this way of thinking is, I'm like, oh, is this why I'm so tired all the time? And is this why I'm so prone to creative burnout? And I know that it's also a weird intersection of like my neurodivergency and stuff. There's so many different factors at play. I posted a reel earlier this year where I was like, I want 2026 to be the year of me getting over myself. Because I do think that a lot of this is like things are worth doing even if they're not done perfectly. You can write in your journal non-consistently. I'm talking to myself now, but I'm like, I'm allowed to write in my journal non-consistently. It doesn't have to be a perfect, beautiful spread every single time. I can just jot down a couple notes at the end of the day. It doesn't need to be like a full page of prose or what have you. My perfectionism has kept me, because perfectionism is just fear. And that fear has kept me from engaging with so many different parts of my life. And it's really sad. And so now I feel like I'm trying to shift my way of thinking from being afraid to kind of like spiteful almost, of being like, I'm not going to let you take this from me. I'm going to make this thing, even if it's bad and you can't tell me what to do, which is far easier said than done, let me say. Lindsay Ellis recently uploaded a video about The Thief and the Cobbler and how the story of it being the inspiration for Disney's Aladdin is complicated and stuff. I'm not getting into that whole story, but the maker of The Thief and the Cobbler, the artist behind that movie, the reason why the movie was never finished in its entirety and the vision that he initially wanted was because he was a perfectionist, and he would throw away like millions of dollars worth of work and months worth of work because he changed his mind, because he thought that it would be better if it was done in a slightly different way. And as a result, it meant that he could never bring this incredible vision that he had to life in the way that he so desperately wanted to. I think that I have so many things that I want to draw. I want to draw my D&D characters. I want to draw my cats and my animals. I want to draw my friends. I want to draw like I do want to create more. There are visual stories that I want to tell, and I know that they are not going to live up to the visions that I have in my head. And I am currently fighting myself tooth and nail to let myself make things that may not be brilliant, fantastic, etc., etc. I think about, oh, perfectionism is the satin-lined casket of creativity. I think that's an Augustine Burroughs quote. It is like, sure, it's lovely and it's comfy and it's good. And it's also, it is an omen of ill tidings to come. And working on this painting, it was actually very freeing because I found myself excited. I found myself excited to get back to it and paint. This painting took me several days, actually. I worked on it over the course of several days. It was exciting though, because I found myself being like, oh, I want to get back to painting, and I want to, it was so gratifying to work with a traditional physical tactile medium again. Like, I guess, medium like this that is not fabric. I've been doing a lot of sewing, and I think that I have been so keen on sewing lately and making fabric and leaning more into like fabric arts because somehow they do not feel as intimately linked with my like self-worth and assessment of my own value as making visual art is. My relationship with my physical art, or like with my visual art, feels so intimate, where I'm putting myself onto a canvas and then I am judging myself and being like, well, oh, that's also the thing where everything is tied to me. If I make something that is bad, then I am bad. If I make a mistake, then I am a mistake. If I do something that is subpar, then that immediately devalues me as a person. Again, not a healthy or sustainable way to think about your life and to think about anything, frankly. And I did learn a lot working on this painting, and so now I do have these little inklings of being like, "Hey, we should paint something else," because we learned quite a bit in this process. We learned about how we really got to make sure that we start with our lightest value and then work to our darkest, which I did for most of this. Not all of it, but I did for quite a bit of it. There was also a point in this painting, I think that it was when I was about to start painting the strawberries, where I got actively like, I was very bored with it and I was over it. And I was like, this is not turning out like I wanted it to. I said, I don't know how to get these particular effects that I wanted. And I had to make a very conscious decision to be like, hey, you have to finish this. Like, your patrons are waiting on you for this postcard. Your sponsor is waiting on you for this video. You need to do this. I'm always trying to figure out, I'm always trying to like connect the neurons in my brain to be like, how did I get here? And I think that it is a combination of like growing up as a perfectionist and then like always being the kind of kid, it's like the gifted burnout trope, whatever, but very much the kid who stayed up all night doing homework, pulling all-nighters on projects. Like, if I got anything less than straight A's, I thought I was an abject failure, despite my parents constantly being like, we love you all the time, no matter what happens, as long as you're trying your best, that's okay. I had a very loving, supportive household, and I was just like, no, if I fall short of this at all, then I'm worthless. And then I think that combined with having the very public facing career that I do, combined with the way that algorithms and stuff have changed since like the peak of my career. I would say the peak of my career was like back in like 2021. I feel like that was when like I'm like, that's when my numbers were up, that's when my views were up, blah blah blah. That's when my metrics were great. And everyone says that don't pay attention to the numbers, that the numbers aren't the thing that's important. And like, in a vacuum, they're not. I think that if I wasn't, I sometimes regret my making art for a living because I think that if my creativity was not burdened by both my perfectionism and the responsibility of providing me with money so that I can eat, I think I would probably feel I don't know if I would feel this way. And I've thought a lot about like stepping away from this particular line of work, and I've thought about trying something else. And then I just think about like I'm very, very lucky and very blessed to be able to do the work that I do for a living. And I think that it is ultimately something that I do love. I just am always convinced I have to operate within these hyper-specific parameters. And if I fall outside of those parameters, then it's all for naught, which is simply untrue. And so much, I think, of growing as far as like mental health and stuff goes. And I think, growing as a person and making these changes to your internal world, so much of it is, your therapist will call it, you got to do the work for a reason. Because it is work, it is practice. You have to practice these things that you want to change about yourself, similar to how I have to practice painting if I want to get better at it. By the way, how fucked up is it that you can't just immediately be good at things? I think about the first time I took a pottery class and how it was me. So it was me and a family of like 8 on like a little vacay together. And then it was me in the corner, and they all had previous pottery experience. So they were all throwing these beautiful little pots, and I was sat in the corner. I started crying at one point because I was like, holy shit, I'm really bad at this. I'm really bad at this. This is not as easy as I thought it would be. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. But I finished it. And then I got really into pottery for a while, and I haven't been back to the pottery studio in a while. But I think about how getting through that first pottery course was viscerally painful. And also I emerged on the other side completely unscathed. Like my soul and my body and everything was perfectly intact. And it actually prompted me to like want to take lessons, because I was like, actually, this is something that I do want to learn and get better at. Please. I give this video and this project to you, or not project, this painting, this endeavor. I give this to you because dude, we're all trying. We're all out here just like doing our best. Okay. And your best, honestly, we're just trying. You don't even have to be trying your best. You just kind of got to be trying. I also think about, I've been playing a lot of Disco Elysium. And there is a line towards the beginning of that game where he says, there's a line where it says like, I don't want to be this kind of animal anymore. And I think about the visceral, like deep-seated terror I feel when confronted with the idea of performing suboptimally. And I think about how like, I don't want to be this kind of animal anymore. I don't want to be this animal where I'm painting strawberries and my body feels like I'm going to be mauled by a bear. It's crazy. The human psyche is fascinating. But I will say, I actually let myself, in working on this, I knew that I was going to do part of this process digitally, because I said, okay, look, I'm going to try out a lot of stuff with this painting, but when it comes to lighting and stuff, I'm not super confident in that. So we're going to add some final touches in post. So I didn't do like, I love all the little textures that I added, but you're going to see a little bit later some adjustments that I made to the painting in post, because and that was also a thing where I was like, is it okay if I do part of this in post? Do I need to do the whole thing traditionally? Am I a fraud if I do half of this digitally? I'm not a fraud. It's mixed media, babes. Like, dude, I laugh at myself because it's so, I want to honor the way that I feel, and I want to honor the way that I think. And I also feel like I have to recognize how absurd it is and how heartbreaking it is, because this shit has stolen so much from me over the years. And I'm sick and tired of it. And so I am in a constant active pursuit of fighting against it. I want to re-record this whole voiceover so bad. I want to re-record this whole voiceover so bad, because I think that I could have phrased certain thoughts better. I could have chained together certain thoughts better. I want to re-record this whole voiceover so bad, but I'm not going to. I also, y'all, I really want to get into doing video essays about video games, and I haven't done it yet because I keep thinking about where I'm like, oh, well, I want to script it out and I need the script to be perfect, and I want to make sure that I get all my thoughts down, blah, 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 blah. And so now I'm like, well, I guess if I'm going to hold myself to that standard, I guess I'm just never going to make video essays on video games, which is a pity because I have so many thoughts about Disco Elysium. I've been playing a lot of Disco Elysium lately. If you've not played Disco Elysium, I can't recommend it enough. The art, the writing, the voice acting, it's brilliant. I kind of don't want to tell you anything about it, so you could just kind of go into it. I digress. I can't get onto another rant about Disco Elysium. I um yeah. I oh man. It's this strange thing where like I think about also there's an element of inner child work to this too. Because I think about like I did used to just draw quite freely when I was a kid, but even that kid was so afraid of making mistakes or saying the wrong thing, making a teacher upset, not doing perfectly on a pop quiz. Like, she was so afraid. And I just want to like take her by the hand and like bring her up to the studio and sit her down and just hand her a pack of crayons and tell her to go crazy. And she's going to be like, well, where's the coloring page? Where are the lines that I need to follow? Where's the rubric that I can follow so that I can be graded on this and therefore do everything like perfectly? I'm going to be like, there is no rubric, sweetheart. There is no rubric. We're not getting graded on this. We're just making pictures. We're just making pictures. It's not that deep. It's beautiful and miraculous and brilliant and incredible to want to make things with your hands and things with your mind. And I think that maybe my hatred of like generative AI is a good sort of like good spiteful, good place to draw my spite and ire from. And oh, we got a crispy little tape pull too. Yummy. Sorry for the lack of ASMR. I didn't have my mic plugged in for most of these clips. So that's my B. Oh, and I'm showing off my painting to my stream last week, to my Patreon stream last week. I just we're onwards and upwards. Okay, my friends. We're in this together. We're going to figure it out. We're going to make it happen. I am ultimately very happy with the way that my May postcard turned out. I think it is very cute. I also really like the sticker. There's a few days left in May if you want to join either of the art mail tiers on my Patreon. You can join Soph's Studio Mail if you want the postcard and the sticker. You can join Soph's Sticker Society if you just want the sticker. But I am ultimately happy. I'm glad with the choices that I made. And also when I look at this painting now, it feels kind of like a marker, or it feels like a banner, a flag in the ground marking like, hey, this was a thing that you did at a moment in your life when making this particular thing was really hard. It seems like a simple victory, but I know that for you it was way more than that. And I think that in and of itself is really important and extremely valuable to me. I encourage you to go forth and make shit. And I'm going to try to make bad shit, okay? We're going to just try and make stuff that is bad. And we're just going to try and just make art. Because I think that's ultimately what it's all about. Thank you for listening to this ramble and this imperfect exploration of thoughts. Because perfectionism is mine enemy most foul. And I will slay it if it is the last thing I do. Stay kind, stay cool. I'll talk to you later. Bye.